Hello and welcome back, everybody, as we are preparing for our final game of Day 2, Week 1 of LCS Academy for Spring of 2021. All good things must come to an end, Crumbs, and this is the final game of our day, the final enjoyment that we get to have here, Cloud9 Academy versus CLG Academy. So let's take some time to talk about these teams and set up expectations for what we saw yesterday going into today. Cloud9 did come out with a win. CLG did unfortunately suffer a loss, but that was a pretty close game against 100 Thieves Academy. So I want to start with CLG and talk about what they're good at. Talk about what I noticed as strengths of this team, and then we can get into the team themselves and the players and what we expect from them. So right off the bat, the first thing I noticed from CLG Academy was how good they were at warding and tracking enemy junglers. Everybody on the team was doing this. Brandini was warding topside. Hooks was invading with Keel and getting wards down in the enemy jungle. They did such a good job of tracking the enemy jungler in the early game, but they started to falter a little bit as we got from the mid to the late game. So what do you think that they should be focusing on going into day number 2? How can they double down on their strengths and improve on their weaknesses?
I think doubling down on empowering Griffin has to be the play for me. Griffin had some previous experience on CLG, has been playing in LCS thus far, kind of bouncing between the two. So I'd want to see what can they play, how can they work with him, who has a lot of experience and has a pretty good champion pool. He has played the meta picks that are required right now in the LCS matches. So if the strength that the team has is tracking the jungler more, then empower Griffin with a pick that focuses on counter jungling or making sure that you are in the enemy's face, like the Graves or Nidalees, these kinds of picks, and now you can get some results.
That'll all be reliant on if Griffin's playing, though, because they did have that emergency sub yesterday where they had to bring in Keel, a younger collegiate player, and Griffin was playing in LCS. So we're not sure who's actually going to be starting today, so I'm happy that you highlight that because there is a chance that it is going to be Griffin. We saw that with Armeo. Team Liquid played Armeo in the LCS, but then he also came into Academy. Same with Potluck. And I feel like CLG, they could also have that same approach, that same strategy where they say, okay, it didn't work out with Keel. We can instead bring in Griffin, who's a little more comfortable, has that slightly more veteran voice here. So we'll see if they actually end up going with that move or not. But now let's move it over to Cloud9 Academy and their side of things. They got a lot of returning names that can get people pretty excited. Darshan in the top lane. King, you've already referenced in the AD carry position, has had some insane pop-off performances. And then also some newer faces. Isles is one that I'm looking at in the support role, somebody that I don't personally know too much about that I'm excited to kind of get to know in this upcoming game.
I think a fun thing about Cloud9's Academy team is that it is more Oceania than it is in A. You've got Schernfire, King, and Isles all coming from down under, and they're all very talented, right? King returning back to Cloud9, already showing that he's got some more flexibility into the bottom lane, which is a pain. I love that Cloud9 opened up their split with an unorthodox bottom lane because it made other teams think about it, as we saw in the previous match with the Janna ban, Seraphine first pick, and teams will have to respect that from now on, right? You've got 4 weeks from now, when Cloud9 locks in Seraphine, everybody said, oh no, what are they doing with this? What's happening? Because you got to account for that. And the fact that they won is only going to empower their drafts moving forward.
It just means that they have so much flexibility because we also know for a fact that King can play things like the Aphelios. I'm assuming he can play things like the Samira as well. We've seen him pop off on Kai'Sa's. So he has the mechanical skill to play these hyper carries. But yeah, they can also go with the old TL summer of 2019 strategy. I think that's what they were playing Sona Taric all the time and just say, hey, yeah, we got this, stud AD carry, but you can also play the Seraphines. You can also play whatever the team needs them to play to actually win out. And keep in mind, I don't think that Janna is the only support that pairs well with the Seraphine in the bot lane. It's just, that's because Alistair was on the enemy team, and it's a great answer to that. So options. That's the name of the game for Cloud9 Academy. They are very diverse in their champ pools. But let's hop into champ select so we can get our first insights into what this game will actually look like. Because if I'm Cloud9, I think that you can have one of two choices. Either double down on the Seraphine pick or show more of your hand. The weakness, or the downside of showing more of your hand is that people know what else you can play, but the upside is that you prove you can play those things.
Well, right now on blue side, they'll just be thinking about making sure that they've got strong lanes everywhere, lanes that are self-sustaining. And the Renekton ban is saying we don't want anybody to be picking on the top lane with some Renekton Nidalee combo, some Talia shenanigans. So get rid of it altogether. And back to the Keel versus Griffin discussion. We have our answer. It is Keel. He's going to be playing 2 games in a row.
Keel coming in. So, hey, I feel for these guys. Keel, Fizzy is another player that are these kind of like last-minute substitutions in Academy because they had to move up an Academy player to LCS because an LCS starter didn't have a visa approved or worked out by that time. So it's unfortunate that Academy, like, even though it's not the lock-in tournament, this is the actual season and these games do really matter. They're the ones kind of taking the brunt of a lot of these roster issues. But best of luck to Keel going forward in this game on CLG. I still think that Keel showed a lot of promise yesterday and a lot of ability to play the game. So, and also banning out a lot of Surefire's junglers is going to be a good way to make sure that Keel is comfortable here. So we see the Olaf ban, we see Kindred ban. That's surprising to me on red side, banning that out in this first rotation. But then catching up on Cloud9 Academy, Renekton, Pantheon, Zoe, nothing too surprising out of that bulk.
I think the Kindred ban is Keel saying, I really want to play Graves, or I really want C9 to play Graves so that I have a different answer for it. Because we saw in the first game today how Kindred was Kenvy's choice and has been the choice for a lot of players for the past year against Graves. Well, banning it, I think almost certainly tempts Surefire's like, ooh, no Kindred, no common counter. I might be able to get away with this champion and play something else that I want into this match, because there's plenty of picks that can do fine into the Graves. And if you had a different champion that you thought was priority, this is actually a really good way to bait Cloud9 into taking a pick that you don't prioritize, that you have an answer to, and then taking other champions that you prioritize more for yourself, like the Camille, which is a big denial against Darshan, and then most likely something like a Kai'Sa or another AD that is very valuable will be locked in here.
Or just the Galio combo. Yeah. And again, Galio flexible, can go mid, can go into the support role depending on what the matchup looks like. But regardless, very strong Wombo means that pressure is now on to Cloud9 Academy and how they want to draft. They won't get the Seraphine, that was banned out. So they need to factor this lockdown potential into these later game team fights around objectives specifically. So Leona, I like that. It's a way to disrupt a lot of other members from CLG Academy getting in and following up on the Camille Galio combo. And I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Kai'Sa picked up and paired with it that can also kind of deal with that threat to some extent.
You could see a Kai'Sa or just a lock-in of the top lane right now. A top lane lock-in would be safe because you already see the Camille, and Cloud9 has shown to be a little experimental here. They're going to just get the Kai'Sa while you can, because otherwise it could have gone to the hands of CLG.
You don't want to give that up, because they're going to lock that in right away. Kai'Sa can also follow up on the Galio Camille combo, so that's really rough to leave that one up right there. But it's kind of forcing the hand of Cloud9 to grab it. So I actually do still like this.
Yes.
From CLG. No way.
Yes. It wouldn't be the first time. It wouldn't be the first time, so let's not get ahead of
LCK,
ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Man. See, that's why you're never supposed to talk about hovered picks, Crumbs. This is casting 101.
But when we like them, we get tempted, and it's so hard when they're some of our favorite champions. But it was a really funny thing in LCK. I don't know if you saw the Nidalee.
Yeah, the jumping
over the wall.
Udyr got a win. It got the win.
Yeah.
It got the W.
Exactly. But against the Graves or against the Kai'Sa, come on. You're really not doing a whole lot with this pick. So Talia makes a ton of sense here, and you do have a lot of setup for it. So I like it. Much better than Udyr.
And banning away the Gangplank as well, removing some of the more later game options here for Cloud9 Academy that also match up just fine into the Camille. I wouldn't be too surprised to see another top lane ban here. Maybe, I mean, Nar's still on the table. They could also look to ban that one out. I know usually Camille isn't the most afraid of Nar. It's kind of like a skill matchup, but if they want to just take away more meta top laners, that is definitely an option here too.
I think Darshan has a lot of answers into Camille. I mean, we know he can play Jax, loves to play that.
True.
But then you've got picks like Poppy, a little more unorthodox, that can actually be quite good into this matchup as well. Being able to deny her mobility is a big deal, and just slam her when she gets in. The Mordekaiser will be banned, so they're trying to set up Brandini for success here. But there are still matchups that do well here. I mean, Jax, like I mentioned, but we've seen picks that are a bit safer, like Bully Bears that can do fine here. So Darshan has anything that he wants here. It's just a matter of what the team thinks he should be playing.
And when I'm just with the first 3 picks, looking at CLG's composition and what they're trying to do, they have a lot of ability to make plays happen regardless of what their current position is. You know, if Camille finds somebody, Galio can follow up from far away, Talia can follow up from far away as well. So I feel like Cloud9 Academy, with that information, they have a few different options of what they want to do here. Do they want to go for just like a full 5v5 death ball composition, which they've kind of started to build here? They have the rumblings of Orianna is still on the table too, so they could look to go even further index into just group up as 5 and don't let us get picked off in the side lanes. Or they can try and answer that by having more kind of global pressure themselves. But another Xayah locked in here. Interesting to see.
Well, last Xayah did really well, Cody Sun's matchup, but it was a bit of a stomp, so we never really got to see her take off. She didn't get the pairing with the Rakan, which C9 would be able to get here if they really wanted to. Oh, if you're going Twisted Fate, you need to lock in Jax or Darshan here. To me, this seems to be the play here. If you're going to be going with split push, there's obviously other options that you can play that aren't so tunnel visioned on 1v1 and split pushing, but it's a good way to dominate the side lanes because you've got 2 matchups that won't be able to be matched. And there it is.
All right.
Jax call gets met.
We get the counter into the Camille. Also, this is playing the opposite. This is not that death ball composition I was talking about of like, hey, group up and try and avoid the Camille Galio, Talia catching up in the side lane. No, this is instead doubling down on saying we can match it. You know, we can have Jax split pushing the side lane and then TF just ult in if, you know, Galio and Talia come flying into the fight as well. So, yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's exciting, but it's going to come down to Darshan. And can Darshan actually perform in this game?
I mean, he's on his signature pick, so I actually have a lot of confidence on this Jax personally because I have been preaching and practicing it for all of last year before Worlds. Camille,
well, you have to. It's
like,
your brand. I mean, you can't back off on it.
Everybody was struggling with Camille, but we're going to jump into the game and see what is going on with these matchups with the corrupting Potion Jax into Camille's Doran's Blade. Junglers will be paying a lot of attention here, but like I was saying, this is a matchup that can be really Jax's favor. The thing is, Jax has to be aggressive. Jax has to take advantage of his cooldowns and jump Camille constantly because Camille is just going to harass you with her sweeping thing and then heal off of you with her grass proc. So what Darshan has to do is constantly jump Brandini when he uses that sweeper so that you can diminish her damage and healing and then use your counter strike to diminish the grass proc and precision protocol. And he has to just keep doing this over and over for the first few levels so that then he can have enough items to sustain and eventually all in. But a lot of this depends on Surenfire and Keel to path accordingly and allow the top laners to play this way.
And when you look at the damage profile of Keel and Brandini, it is AD AP. So we've seen a lot of top laners, especially like the Gnar versus Renekton matchup, going for I want to say Ninja Tabby, but I'm blanking on the new one, the armor boots, so that you can prevent a lot of that auto attack damage that would come in from the Jax, or rather from the Camille. But now with the AP split as well, Darshan does need to respect the potential jungle ganks here, but you're right. Overall, this should be a pretty comfortable matchup for Darshan. So we'll have to track the junglers, both starting on the bottom sides right now, both getting some light leashes from their respective bot lanes, and both being power farming junglers. That just is the name of the game right now. It seems like every jungler you take has to be able to farm and has to be able to farm very fast.
You have to. The camps spawn too quickly, and so if you don't, you actually just lose to the other player. You might be making way more plays on the map, but if they're just clear faster and better than you, they're consistently gaining an advantage that you cannot find. So you're always in the back foot. So even if you don't want to be power farming, your champion has to be able to power farm.
And both about the same clear currently. And then maybe engage on the bot side. What a hook, or rather sword from Isles onto hooks right there.
Whoa.
Zenith's Blade not able to get the full kill. Ignite not used. That might have been enough.
I think so. Ignite and then maybe flash auto, double flash. Whoa, Isles!
For another. No way. Onto Team Luke. Now under turret. Isles, ooh, has to flash out. Gets the cleanse out of Team Luke, but definitely was not expecting that.
Okay, really aggro, but I don't mind it. They get the reset, and they know that the junglers aren't there. So that's another aspect why you're like, all right, it's not crazy to do this. You know, but junglers are path topside. And this is what I was saying earlier about how it's important that the junglers path up. Look at what's happened. Darshan is already out of his charges, and he's going to have to base here and teleport back to the wave because he cannot stay here. Both junglers pathed up. His isn't ready to help out. So instead, the TP will come through, make sure that he can crash the wave and start focusing on harassing Brandini down.
Keel is here though, so this, I mean, yes, you get the TP. Oh, all right, Keel's not actually looking for it. I thought maybe Keel would look for some kind of gank up there since the wave is so pushed and you can punish that lack of TP, but not interested in that right now. So just goes back to the power farming.
And he does lose out on the crabs. He does lose out on 2 crabs, but he had to. I think this is a good call out of him, recognizing, hey, I actually could not have secured this. My top lane is constantly pushed, so is mid lane, and my bottom lane is having Leona dive Galio at level 2. It's more important than I just power farm my jungle, and there are lots of fights happening. One more auto.
Flash auto might be enough. Not going to look for it. Wow. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of the Syndra versus TF lane, I suppose. But
it's not an easy matchup for TF at all. Like, you really want to get those Merc traits ASAP, and you need those levels.
Isles barely missing that Zenith Blade. Maybe they can still get hooks. Copy with the gold card. Ooh, just lands it onto hooks, though. Not the member they're looking for. Cloud9 Academy. They are just constantly looking for plays on this bottom side of the map.
You love to see it. You love to see this aggressive. Oh, Copy has no flash.
He has no flash. He's in a lot of trouble. First blood to CLG Team Luke. The last-minute substitute AD carry coming in as well. Speaking of subs for CLG, they got multiple, but gifted that first blood.
Yeah, that was all Copy's fault, unfortunately, because you cannot path that way. You cannot path through the river back to the lane after you have TP'd down. It is so greedy. It is so disrespectful. You're not giving any credit to what the enemy can do. But first, we're going to look at Isles' attempt to Hex Flash onto hooks. Just barely out of range. I mean, if that connected, you know they're dead. And
you know that Isles is probably freaking out. Like, how did that not hit?
Look
Riot,
at this.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. This is just crazy. This pathing back to, I mean, you do have the scuttler, but come on, you know that the enemy team is looking for you. You don't have flash as a twisted fate.
Even the exhaust used by hooks, they were like, we are getting this kill no matter what. We are not letting this go unpunished. So Copy losing out there. And also because of that TP, RJS even gets the shove mid, gets up 10 CS currently. Copy will catch a lot of that here, but overall, the early game going fairly well for CLG. For anybody not aware of RJS, used to be Deus, their old top laner, but has roll swapped back to his original position as a mid laner here. And kind of just smacking around Copy.
Yeah, he has to continue to smack him around because Copy's going to hit level 6, and he's going to be looking for roams. You need to keep Twisted Fate shoved in, otherwise you won't know where he's at, and every laner has to play as if Twisted Fate is looking for their lane. So that's not something that anybody wants to play around if you're looking
for the gank level 5. They know Copy still doesn't have the flash, and they just use everything to secure that kill. I was a little concerned. I was like, Keel's not level 6, and Surenfire is. Surenfire's in the neighborhood, but it doesn't matter. They just killed Copy too fast. Meanwhile, it's on the bot side. Hooks gets a double taunt onto Isles and King. Team Luke gets a nice feather recall as well. Wow, what?
Whoa!
Oh, hey, Surenfire.
What?
That was a flash.
What?
Okay.
For the red buff? Flash for the red buff?
Maybe he was trying to ult to steal it, accidentally hit F instead.
That's some solo queue asserting your dominance right
That's
there.
That's an oceanic player right there, Crumbs. Come on, put some respect on it.
Well, I mean, okay. If that's the kind of game we got, that's the kind of game we've got.
That's the kind of game that closes out week 1 of the Academy. Yeah, that's what we can expect to see as flash used by Team Luke on the bot side. Zenith Blade doesn't quite land from Isles, but man, Cloud9 are just never letting Team Luke have his summoner spells up. They are constantly pressuring here, but look at that gank in the mid lane.
It's just so difficult to anticipate where Talia's coming from when you don't have any vision of the river. She's so fast around those walls that before you know, you're like, oh crap, she's right here, and I'm already stunned. I think he's going to be a lot safer now with those Merc Treads. He should be able to survive the duration of Scatter the Weak and then not get seismic shoved back into a death. Here is a collapse. So this Talia is in so much trouble. She's so dead.
Has smite.
What are you doing?
Smites it away. Gets a blue buff. Weaver's wall. No, it's canceled. Oh, it fails the flash.
No.
Crumbs, what are we watching?
Oh gosh. All right. Let me highlight you the reasons why that was a bad invade. Number 1, Twisted Fate has ultimate. Number 2, Jax just based. Number 3, Graves just path from bottom to top side. So those are 3 people that are going to the area that you are in, that you have no teammates with, you have no mana because you're taking a blue buff. It was just a big one, and losing the flash is the
Meanwhile, bot side, another engage here onto Team Luke. That's a lot of damage from King, but he actually takes a ton in response. He can't go to that TP. Brandini's got him trapped, but says, I want Isles first. That's actually Hooks that gets the kill. Isles might get out here with the Solar Flare. Brandini wisely waits it out. One more auto attack should get it. Winds of War, not going to be enough. Hex that ultimatum. Brandini stuck on a turret. Is one more shot going to go through? It doesn't. Brandini just barely gets out, and CLG do turn the play.
That really was way too close for comfort. If Brandini died there, that was almost a really bad play there out of the side of CLG. They get the dragon at least, and I love this response out of Team Luke, going straight to the top lane to catch that wave that the Jax has been hammering away. So if anything, now you've got Camille with a little bit more gold, and that might affect this top lane matchup that seems to always favor Jax the later the game goes, but Camille does have tools to outplay when you have a Galio in your back pocket.
Team Luke just wants to be as far away from Leona as possible. He's like, I'm sick of this, all right? As the end of the blade is used on cooldown, I don't want it. Not level 6, no flash, no cleanse, and this is what happens. Even through the exhaust, King does take a lot of damage, but it's just so easy for Cloud9 to find these.
They have been looking for them since level 1 in this bottom lane, and when you got a lane that's just so aggressive constantly, you kind of fall into the pattern of, I guess we're the ones that are defensive and the others are aggro, so you rarely see the CLG bottom lane go for it. It almost looked like half a second, or even less, half a millisecond, would have actually charged that final turret shot to take down the Camille, but the lane swap will follow through, and we're got a little race to the first brick. No one has a Rift Herald, so who will win?
Looks like the top turret is taking a lot of damage here, but King's auto attack speed buff will help him out. And Rift Herald's also being taken at the same time, so I think CLG will win out on this. Less armor because Hooks is not near the turret, so they can get through that. And we're past 10 minutes, so top lane buff no longer relevant. As Rift Herald is claimed here by CLG. They don't even need to drop it, though. They should get it with this next wave.
I agree. I think saving it is the right call. These turrets are already too low, and you still have plenty of time to get some more gold. Maybe switch it back to the bottom lane when you return the lanes, because they're not going to keep the bot lane up here. They're going to swap it back before the dragon on the side of CLG.
But they give the gold to Team Luke before that, which is something he desperately needed. He was down 20 CS, was constantly getting dove by the support 80 carry combo and copy with the ult, Surenfire roaming down. So I like that play from CLG saying, okay, let's just get Xayah out of lane, get that gold, and then get that Gale Force. So now can be much more safe. Now level 7 has that ultimate available too. C9 get the Scuttle Crab, but can Brandini find anything more? Hextech ultimatum in, but all on his own. There's the combo with Galio. They at least take down Isles. TF coming in as well, but that's too quick picked up for CLG. They actually went out on that fight very, very impressively.
Really good look out of them. You had the Camille Galio right there, so they thought it doesn't matter who we ult. We've got everybody here. Just dogpile them. And in the meantime, Darshan continuing to push into the top lane, but whatever plates he gets, they're going to be answered by this in the mid lane. So gold for a team versus gold for an individual. And here we see that engage happening again, because they knew that Brandini was in the area. I guess they didn't expect him to be so quick to engage on top of sacrificing the wave that he had in the bottom lane. And it was double duty damage on the side of Cloud9 because they committed the Twisted Fate ultimate and got nothing for it. So we've already seen 2 TF ultimates and no kill, Kangas. That is a big deal. You really need to get this champion going with those first few ults.
Especially when we were talking about in pick and ban, just how volatile this composition can be when behind. You know, CLG, they have the Camille, they have the Gallery, they have the Talia. All these ways to join a fight from very far away. So Darshan, even with the TF backing him up, is oftentimes going to be in a 2v3 situation. So he needs to be ahead so that he can actually carry through those. And he has not hit that point right now. Brandini actually hits the Trinity Force first, and Darshan is lagging a little bit behind.
Yet, no matter how far he lags behind, he'll still have the edge in this 1v1 matchup. So Brandini's itemization would always put him at a deficit when it comes to pushing the wave. So as long as Darshan can keep Brandini in the lane, they'll be at an advantageous position because that means Brandini is not team fighting and Darshan is doing what he wants to do, which is split push on this pick and have a 4v4 on the other part of the map. So I think that thus far the game plan for Cloud9 is continuing. It's still alive, but it has definitely been hurt because CLG is making plenty of moves here, and a lot of it stems from this mid lane pressure that has completely shut down the Twisted Fate.
And RJS is just, like, I mean, I already said it before, slapping around Copy. We expect it with the matchup, but this is to another extent. 2-0-1 on RJS. A lot of it is the fact that Copy has been looking for these ults and hasn't found them, necessarily. He keeps looking for the side lane play, but is not pulling it off successfully, which allows RJS to keep getting further ahead. But yeah, all the control means more objectives to the side of CLG. They might even get this mid turret here. RJS wants the kill instead. They're just diving on the turret. Take it as they're attacking Copy, and Copy should go down. No, does flash out. Ooh, Unleash Power, not quite enough. Copy, that was a gold Proto Belt back in.
He Proto Belt himself back.
Whew. There's been a lot this game, Grubs.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of moments.
Hey, you think you scare me? I'm not scared of you. Proto Belt's back into the fight at 10% HP. But they lose that first turret, so now is when we get to see what can Twisted Fate really pull off here, because now you're even more shoved in, making it even more obvious where these ganks are going to happen. Because if you're at your tier 2 and you path to the red side, well, obviously you're helping your bottom lane. It's very clear which side of the map you're going to, and this Twisted Fate ultimates need to start paying off, and no more looks into the bottom lane, Kangas. I think it's got to be top. You really need to have Darshan joining the fray here. You need resources and reinforcements from the side of Cloud9, because another few fights
could be in trouble, though.
CLG's way, and it's
Brandini's chasing him down. There's TF coming in. Brandini immediately stuns him up. Keel with the seismic shove. RJS has joined in as well. Darshan says, "Fear my blade of the Ruin King." And chases down Keel, but with the help of Schernfire, will actually pick him up. And Cloud9 do make the correct play there. That is what this composition wants to do. Darshan draws pressure to a side lane, and then Copy follows up.
Exactly. Keep playing to the win condition that was drafted as a counter to Camille. I think that this is the right way. Unfortunately, the Talia flash was a bit sad at times, but hey, that means that they are actually still capable of taking these fights, though, because that one was really close. It seems like both teams feel like when they get jumped, they still have enough damage to try to outplay it instead of just going down.
And I do just want to mention again here, the build from Darshan. I was looking at it before that fight happened, and I had to say something. What is the purpose of getting Blade of the Ruined King first, as opposed to your mythic item?
So
I can't really think of a reason.
The Blade of the Ruined King will give you... Wait, first, let's
yeah, as actions happening, bots out. Of course, I ask you the question right... As soon as the camera goes to Team Luke, I should know better. Because clearly he's going to get engaged upon. But alright, looks like nothing happens. Back to Blade of the Ruined King. Is this correct?
Yeah, so the Blade is going to be really good for the 1v1. That's really it. Like the Blade is putting more emphasis on the 1v1 and just saying, I'm indexing onto this, and it helps a ton with the initial laning phase as well. The Vamp Scepter is a huge help in the lane against Camille, who has way more sustain than Jax. So balancing those two things allows him to not only lane against Camille until he gets the items that he needs to, but ensures that as the game progresses, he'll always win the 1v1. You can still win the 1v1 with the Trinity Force, but this diminishes the difficulty that it could be to pull it. Like, you could still lose it if you have Trinity. It happens sometimes at the Raptor camp and other camps. A crazy aggro.
That Raptor was bad out of hell right there. He's like, no, Schernfire, you need the gold, buddy. I got you. I will run right into your waiting arms. All right, but thank you for that breakdown, Crumbs, because I thought I was going crazy for a bit there. I'm a simple man. I'm a simple man that believes mythic items are purchased first because that's what the game was designed to do. But all right, so, it makes a little more sense now.
You see it a lot in other champions that are skipping the mythics or skipping the start with the mythic, like Aurelia, who's a really good pick right now. They're rushing the Blade of the Ruined King. It's just, it helps you so much in the lane, and it doesn't have that active anymore, but it really allows you to run somebody down anyways as you start fighting, which is how Jax ends up fighting and winning against Camille anyways. So I think this is fine, and he's going to end up having some sort of Trinity-esque item in his secondary item, so it's all par for the course of Jax versus Camille.
And we're still looking at this Jax to be kind of the primary pressure point here for Cloud9. It's been difficult with that turret going down right away early on in the game. You know, he doesn't have that turret to play around anymore, which means that the split push Jax doesn't do as much, but he's basically just holding off, catching all these free waves. And then the idea, I suppose, is get to that 2-item power spike and then start really drawing pressure and pushing turrets. Because so far, Darshan has not just been blind pushing. He hasn't been trying to take his tower. He seems very comfortable just catching wave after wave, and we see that in his 30 CS advantage. But now, Schernfire caught out in the river by himself right now, and Brandine might just have it by himself. No! Schernfire bringing the damage and gets the 1v1, gets out. What a player.
Who caught who? Who caught who there? Because he just bodied that Camille. Had all the spells. Camille didn't think that much damage was coming out, but the lethality is already completed onto Schernfire, and that pick is big. Yeah, you lose this dragon, which kind of sucks putting CLG on Cloud Soul, but first, let's see how this actually played out, because he gets spotted, and already he has to actually recharge, which is unfortunate, but that ultimate just did so much.
Yep, that's the power of Gale Force Graves. What a player, what a play. Dragon does go down to CLG here on the bottom side, puts them on Soul Point. They're barely holding on to that gold lead that they had accrued for themselves, but they are still up 2 turrets to none. So actually no standing objectives here for Cloud9 currently. Nothing that they can actually show for all of this mechanical play that they have built into their team, into their roster. All these Oceanic players, they're still struggling to find a big foothold in this game. And if CLG get that Dragon Soul, yes, it's only Cloud, but still, Cloud Soul can be pretty devastating in the right hands. And I guess CLG's composition isn't necessarily the best at utilizing it, but still, the extra cooldown reduction on ultimates like Galio, like Syndra, can be huge.
Absolutely. Cooldown reduction on ultimates is way better than on any other spell. And you mentioned the standing goal that Cloud9 didn't, or the objectives that Cloud9 doesn't have to show for, but they do have 2 top and bottom lane turrets that are very close to dying. So if Cloud9 were to win one team fight, there would be a lot of rewards on the map that they could take. So that makes it even more important in these next few moments, because Baron is also up, so there is a lot of standing gold that is available. It's just you need to kill the enemy to take it. So both teams recognizing, hey, things are about to get really spicy here, and this Jax has been very patiently building a lead to ensure that he gets to the place that he needs to be in. I like this move. I think this is the one way to play Jax that increases the consistency of the champion, which is the weakness of him, that sometimes you pick him and you just get bodied and never take off, but Darshan is just playing him calm and collected, guaranteeing that his lead comes from CS and pushing instead of kills, and that makes it way more consistent.
And he's playing so patient. He's stayed topside for 20 minutes. without a turret, just catching wave after wave. Gets a 50 CS lead up over Brandini, and now goes to the bot side finally, despite his turret being gone the entire time. And at this point, he can just body Brandini. He's 2 levels up and a huge pressure point on the map that if CLG go for the Camille Galio combo at any point, they're probably going to lose a lot for it. They start up the Baron. Cloud9 are going to walk up and check, and yeah, CLG, they're not healthy enough to just tank it up. They don't have a frontliner and a peel option, so they have to back off.
And they don't have anybody handling waves either, right? You pushed mid and top, but then there was nobody there. So C9, all they had to do was just shove the waves and then walk into the Baron. And even if they didn't do that, they had the far side alteration, which was what deterred the Baron push, but there's always a Twisted Fate ultimate. So that look out of the Baron from CLG normally would work against different kinds of compositions, but I think because you're against a Twisted Fate and you really don't have anybody to tank it, it was too costly because you had to reset, and that reset allowed C9 to catch more waves and continue to put gold in the carries that they want as the gold lead in Jax versus Camille continues to grow.
And overall, the gold lead, even pretty much dead even, just barely leaning Cloud9's favor. The first time all games that has happened. We're also seeing sizable CS differentials in the bot side too. King doing a great job of just slowly farming it up, hitting towards this 3-item Kai'Sa power spike, which will be huge, and just be able to assassinate pretty much every member of CLG, because there, again, is no tanky frontliner. There really is no tank member. The best they have is Brandini, who can dodge damage with his Hextech Ultimatum, and then Hooks, who can proc Aftershock and just try his best to survive. But Cloud9 can blow members up, and that's what they're trying to do right now. They get the flash out of Keel. Copy says, hey, where are you? Thanks, Hooks. Thanks for hopping in. We didn't get the one we wanted, but we'll take you as a consolation prize. Cloud9 are coming online.
Oh yeah, that was a present from the skies. A gargoyle just fell on your lap, and they knew they could do that because RJ is just pushing into the top lane. They were going to have a numbers advantage. Then the TF ultimate confirms that you have an advantage. Why not jump everybody into the mix? And trying to pick off Isles, I think he's fine.
Yeah, it's going to come down to RJS finding a big play here. Has 2 items completed, 5 stacks on the Dark Seal. Most of the gold on CLG is on this one player, so having him on the top side to push that wave in, yeah, he gets a little more CS, but now they don't have vision prio around this dragon right as they were on Dragon's Soul. This could have been theirs if they had just grouped up and tried to keep priority around it, but nope, pushing mid, pushing bot. Mid laner not able to join in time, so Cloud9 get their first dragon of the game, and most importantly, just stall out CLG's Dragon Soul. And now Cloud9, I mean, we said it for CLG, the same thing. If they stack 4 Cloud Drakes for all the cooldown reduction, that's going to be insane. TF can ult probably every 30 seconds and just see where people on CLG are at any point in the game.
It's true. Okay, so first, let's see how this happened, because CLG immediately misses the engage, and Keel caught off, right, flashes out. I think that's miscommunication. I'm looking at the play, I'm thinking, Hooks should not have done that anyways, but they should know that Keel has flash, so if he's doing that, he has to flash out. Anyways, we're back to Baron. CLG trying to rush it. It might get stolen or fought, because they're committing.
Yeah, there's the Talia Weaver's ball. Surenfire jumps in, cannot steal it away though, and now might pay the price. But CLG, no, they say, we don't want this fight actually. We want to get out of here. No, Luke's fails to flash over the Baron pit. 2 members fall from CLG. They'll get the objective, but that's a pretty hefty cost to pay for it. There's not much more they could do though. They've been so pinched by Cloud9 up until this point.
And it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to get much from this Baron because they just lost a few members, so they're probably resetting and setting up the next fight. Look at this. There's a chance they actually lose this tier 1 up here to the Jax. They certainly will. And Cloud9 continue to get objectives despite CLG being the first to start the Baron, to be at the site of the fight.
It looks like it's going to be one of those moments where we see the negative Baron power play graph. Or negative gold graph for it, rather. Cloud9 getting the kills on the players is big. Getting that top turret also feels great because now Jax has more lanes to play around. Darshan is at this position here. Yes, Brandini had 2 items, but still will not be able to 1v1 this Jax. and Darshan knows this. He knows that he is the big pressure point. His team can do things elsewhere on the map while he's shoving, but we'll see what they decide to do here. CLG does actually want to pressure this mid lane, but we'll first get a replay of the Baron.
All right, so immediately I'm confused because of that Weaver's Wall, but then we see the fight is obviously going to be in the favor of Cloud9 when CLG commits everybody into the pit. That's a kind of move that tells you, all right, they're committing here. They're not really interested in fighting. They just want to get the Baron and get out. But here's Churnfire trying to one-shot Kalia. Will die instead.
Well, that's what CLG needs. A couple more plays like that. And they still have the Baron buff too, so they actually might get the mid turret off of that play. There's Destiny coming in from Twisted Fate, trying to get in here onto Camille, but actually, I think it was Pagabi trying to get out and away from Camille.
Yeah.
All
they were
right.
Fighting.
Cloud9, we're in a position to maybe close this game out pretty soon, but CLG suddenly turn it around with back-to-back picks. Jungler and mid laner, they take this middle inhibitor. They still have Baron. I don't know if they push for the end. Yeah, there's no way.
What was that? I don't know. Somebody there was like, can we? Can we? No, we absolutely cannot. And what they cannot do is have anybody that is not Jax match the Camille. That's clear already. Maybe Surenfire if he's somehow put into a laning position, but we need to see Darshan fight Grandini right now because there is not a lot going on for the side of C9 on the 4v4 camp.
We need to see Darshan actually pressuring a lane. We haven't actually seen that yet. He's only taken outer turrets, but we haven't seen him pushing up to any of the inner turrets to pull CLG up there, to draw their attention and allow the rest of his team to get other things on the map. And I suppose maybe it's because there's not much else to take on the map, but now that Dragon will be up in another minute, this is when we should start to see Cloud9 being a little more, you know, I guess, attentive to that. But, oh, yeah, that's just a misplay there from Surenfire, thinking he had the kill, thinking that Talia was alone on an invade in his jungle when he had no vision of the enemy team.
She did it once, actually. It did happen one time. So he's like, hey, maybe she's by herself again.
Fair. It's the long con. CLG's just conditioning Cloud9. They're like, Surenfire's going to fall for this, I swear. Multiple ult used, multiple flashes used, so some key engage tools no longer on the table. Cloud9's got to get back. Their super's pushing mid. CLG's just trying to stop their backs because Dragon's up in 20 seconds. They want to use this Dragon to bait out the supers taking Nexus turrets, and I think that they might actually do it. Isles is all alone. Darshan has the flank here, but no copy. Destiny is available. He could look for Weaver's Wall. They knock down Surenfire. Can they kill Surenfire? They can. Graves is down. Now it's turning on to King. Hooks jumps forward. What is Darshan doing? He can't find anything in this fight, and disaster for Cloud9. CLG just stick as 5, and Darshan says, I don't know what to do with my hands. I guess I'll run back to mid-wave and just try and live. It's not going to work. That's Dragon Soul. That's multiple kills for CLG, and that is a big power play for this team.
The Jax just can't do anything because Syndra is marking him. The Syndra is so fed. She's the most fed member on the side of CLG and can just destroy Jax. And that's what happens. She's just saving her cooldowns, watching where Jax goes in, because the second Jax commits, she will respond and delete him. And that's kind of what went down. But it all started with CLG's vision. Seeing that Cloud9 was not sure how to handle that dragon fight, they saw a few key members recalling, and they knew right away. The second those recalls happen, we engage. We have a quick and decisive composition. We're going to have a numbers advantage. It'll get us the Dragon Soul. And now they are very close to ending this game. I think C9 still have the tools to win it, though, right? You win a big fight, you can push down and end the game. So it is still possible, like we saw Team Liquid lose against Dignitas yesterday. But the way that CLG have been going about closing this, I think has really caught C9 off guard.
I'm no longer looking at Darshan as the win condition for Cloud9 because they're not playing around this Jax correctly. They're really not playing patiently enough. Now that there's no Dragon Soul to worry about necessarily, maybe they start doing that. But I'm now looking at the AD carry. It's going to be up to King. This Kaisa will really have to show up in these team fights. But here's a replay. C9 just so split up.
And it's unfortunate that it goes on to King now because, right, see that? Darshan goes in, gets his jump canceled. But I was saying that the Darshan Jax isn't entirely his play. It's supposed to be kind of a team play with the Twisted Fate as well. So the fact that RJ's just body copying in the mid lane, I think made a big dent in this game plan, because I think a few TF ultimates that would have gone to the top lane, getting a few kills, would have allowed the Jax to have the lead necessary to play how he wants to. Now they're just picking them off.
He's just trying to buy some time. But
wait, look at bot.
Down.
Look at bot.
Oh, wait, bot lane. Okay. Can Darshan actually do this? They're so low on health. Wait, what's going on down there? Oh, they win. It's Cloud9 winning out. They have a full wave here. Wait, no way. No way these two can actually end the game. Nope, we got RJS did back and will stop that push. I got really excited. I was like, is this my do I get to cast a back door? But does not look like it. But CLG keep the fight going. King doing a lot of damage here. It's just Keel and hooks. King might be able to outplay this. He is Kai'Sa. He's got a lot of DPS, and Keel has directional damage. There's the immediate flash taunt, but flash response by King. He's going to chase down Keel. Oh, doesn't quite get it. Doesn't quite find him. So close, but it will not be. Keel, though, now trying to catch out Copy, I guess. They're just chasing down everybody. There's action across the map right now, but no objectives will be taken other than that bot turret for Cloud9.
And that was the first time we actually saw just a plain Twisted Fate gank onto the Camille. The other time had so many members involved, and it's 30 minutes in that Twisted Fate finally gets a gank off into Darshan's lane, and they actually kill the Camille. So it still works. It took a lot to get her down, but they have ways to still play around this Jax, as long as they can keep the rest of CLG somewhat distracted, because the rest of them, while the Jax Camille fight was happening, were around Baron.
And that Baron play, that was also, like, if anything had gone wrong for Cloud9 there, that might have been game also. The fact that King was able to pick up 2 kills really sets him up for success. And I was saying just moments ago, King is now the one that will have to perform if Cloud9 are to win these team fights. 3 item power spikes approaching on that 4th, but CLG start up the bear. They burst this so fast. It's already done. I don't think Cloud9 can win the fight after this either, though. CLG want to engage onto a Hextech ultimatum onto Isles, all that true damage. Sharon Fire trying to be on the front line. Copy with the flank, but he's chunked out too. And the TF ain't that threatening, everybody. CLG get the Baron and they get out.
And C9 wasn't even in that position to get anything from their base. Yeah, you get the tier 2, but that doesn't matter right now. They're already collapsed in to defend their inhibitors and base turrets. They thought they'd be able to maybe set up for a team fight against CLG, but they're quickly realizing that their composition cannot team fight them. It is not a team fighting comp. So surrounding CLG and looking for that is not going to work. They have to continue to find these picks with Twisted Fate and Jax. So against the Baron up team, a little bit trickier, yet when a Baron up team is going for a push is usually when they're most confident, and that confidence can be a way to exploit a few key players that can separate a little bit too far from the herd. You know, somebody gets a little too far out, but Camille
flash engage, Hextech ultimatum, they got the wombo, they got the combo. Sharnfire's already out of the fight. No Graves. And King might just fall here. The taunt goes through. King should die. He jumps away. The shield will be enough, but not for long. 3 picked up for CLG. Make it 4. Darshan actually does get 1 in response, and he might just get out of this. That's a huge shield, but just not enough. That's so much damage from CLG. They got all members up, save RJS. They got Baron pushing in. Brandini can back and teleport in. This is going to be game crumbs. It's only Copy left up to try his best and defend. But there's just nothing a TF can do. You gotta feel for the guy. Nexus will fall. CLG get their first win of spring 2021.
And a CLG win through a very impressive lane. This is RJ's playing mid lane after having played top last split, just having a standout game. I think he was by far and away the most responsible player on this CLG roster for that win. Him and Brandini had a great showing, but more importantly, he shut down the Twisted Fate that allowed everybody else to survive the laning phase and then just have a really easy time. TF never existed in that game.
And I think this is a prime example of what we mean when we say things like a team fight composition is easier to pull off in most situations than a split pushing composition. I mean, I credit Cloud9 Academy for trying that. Darshan is one of these players that's always pushing for that. Like, let's bring back the split push, guys. Let's try out, like, me in the side lane alone trying to carry. And there were moments where it worked, but overall, just not even a question that the team fight engage of the Camille, Galio, Kai'Sa jumping in, that was working way better for CLG.
Yeah, and a way that a team like Cloud9 could overcome such a disadvantage like that into the mid lane comes from the jungle picks. For example, Syndra keeps bullying Twisted Fate. What the jungler can do is just do a cheese route and just burn his flash to burn the flash of the enemy. You're going for a gank that you know is not getting a kill, but the sole purpose is to free up pressure of your mid laner so that he can farm and he can keep the wave at a better position. So I think that when Cloud9 reviews this game and they look at the mid lane, they can say, all right, if TF cannot handle the Syndra by herself, somebody else needs to come into this lane and disrupt the Syndra. Whether it's the jungler or the support, they can redo that play, including help to the mid lane, and the Twisted Fate is now a completely different champion.
Yep. But unfortunately, that's all hypothetical because not how the game played out. But congratulations to CLG Academy for picking up their first win, ending their first week 1-1. We're going to send it over to a very short break before we're back with a player interview to wrap up the rest of the show. So you're not going to want to miss it. Don't go anywhere. Hello and welcome back, everybody, for the post-show here. It's the end of the day, end of week 1 for LCS Academy in 2021. What an opening for just the season as a whole. There were a lot of really fun games, and that last one was definitely up there, Crumbs. Cloud9 Academy versus CLG Academy delivered in terms of hype moments and high-pressure situations.
Yeah, and it delivered in seeing CLG improve as well. This is a really upward trajectory from last year to now. I'm really liking what I'm seeing, and RJ's, the role swap from top to mid, was a huge factor in this game, and then they just kind of comboed the Galio Camille a few times over, and C9 never took off.
Never quite. They weren't able to find it, and I like how they were just able to play what felt like player strengths, because yesterday, CLG had such a great early game. They controlled a lot of stuff, but then they started to falter later on. They lost a couple awkward team fights, and they weren't playing around TF well in that game. But this time against Cloud9, it never felt like they were actually that much in danger from the Darshan split push. And there were only a few moments like this one, for example, where Cloud9 actually had opportunities to get back in the game and show that they could potentially win. But other than that, Cloud9 or CLG were just fully in control.
I think they knew that as long as Jax did not get ahead, they were going to be fine, because the Twisted Fate would lose the lane, as you do against a Syndra, and they're going to team fight eventually, and they will win in the team fight. So they banked on that happening, and then you see how this team fights play out. The Syndra versus Jax is a very miserable matchup for the Jax if you are not familiar with playing Jax, and if you are familiar with it, then you know that it is control mages, one of your biggest banes.
control mages that can burst you in maybe almost a full rotation, probably 2 rotations. But that's exactly how RJS played. It wasn't just winning a mid lane. It was transitioning that power that you got from winning mid lane into controlling these team fights, providing that DPS when needed, but also just zoning. Like here, just saying, nope, copy, you cannot get into the fight. And once CLG can group up like this, that's when Cloud9's composition really started to fall apart, because they could not win these 5v5s. And they learned that the hard way around some of those Barons, but also, of course, in this last base push from CLG. So congrats to the squad, CLG. They've had an interesting road in Academy. Like you already quoted last year, they were started really slow, but then picked it up with a Coach Moon. And we actually got a chance to hear from one of the players that was on the team last year, RJS, coming in. We're also hopping back to the mid lane. RJS, also with a haircut. I was not expecting that one, but you're looking clean, man. How are you feeling after picking up your first win in Academy 2021?
It feels good, especially to be back in mid lane and get the first win of the season.
Now,
so that's
how was
a
that
big
transition?
thing. Oh yeah. Crumbs, you take it.
How was that transition for you? Yeah.
It's been pretty easy since I've never really stopped playing mid lane, and I kept playing it in solo queue, and I've always been comfortable on it. So the transition's been pretty easy for me.
I mean, dude, the comfort, right? You destroyed mid lane today. That was a really one-sided affair on your side. So the Syndra really showed up today.
Thanks. Yeah, I missed my first Syndra Q on the lane, and I thought that I trolled the laning phase because the first Syndra Q is the most important one. But luckily, he overstayed for a wave, and I was able to burn his flash.
There you go.
So for those that aren't aware, that don't know the history of RJS, what was the reason for this swapping to the top lane to begin with, and then your reason for wanting to switch back to mid lane?
Originally, I started playing top lane when I was in Korea, and I think LS believed mages top at the time were really strong, and since I had a lot of experience playing mages, he asked me to play a lot of mages in top lane, like Ryze, Cassiopeia, and eventually when I was looking for a team back in North America, I said that I could play mid or top since I had been practicing both, and CLG wanted the top laner at the time, and that's just how I ended up in top lane.
Ooh. Now, does that mean that you're also, you don't have to spoil anything, but maybe top laners in the mid lane as well, right? Renekton picks, Malphites, these kinds of, right?
Yeah, definitely my time in top lane, I've expanded the champion pool, and I'm ready to bust out some top lane champions in mid lane, like Camille as well.
Dude, hell yeah, I'm excited for CLG. All right, one more thing about your time in CLG. What's it been like with your two coaches? Because you got some really young guys with Moon and Benji. What is that dynamic like?
Yeah, Benji, it's pretty much been the same as with Moon. Is having former players as coach, they just understand what players like go through and how players feel going into matches, and it's just been a very smooth experience working with both.
And what about the newer players on the team as well? Because I know that CLG, the organization, had some issues with visas on the main LCS roster that's affected things down to the academy roster. So what's it been like playing with players like Keel and Team Luke that have come in here?
Oh, it's been great. All of our subs have been performing better than I could have ever expected. They're all just playing great. Brandini, Keel, and Team Luke have just been phenomenal in scrims.
Yeah, you got it.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Also, what's the dog's name in the background? Because I got to say, that thing it's adorable.
Oh, that's Teddy over there.
Teddy? All right. Well, Teddy should be the new mascot of CLG Academy. I'm going to petition for that going forward, so for future player interviews. But thank you so much, RGS, for coming on here for our Verizon post-game interview. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck going into next week.
Thank you.
Bye, Teddy.
Bye.
And now it's back to us, Crumbs. We got to close out the show here. Thank you so much for being my co-caster. It was awesome. It's been a while since we've had a chance to work together, but yeah, it was a fun day.
It was, dude. I loved it. It was really good.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get more opportunities going forward. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure that you don't miss out on the next tier of competition because, yes, we got LCS. Yes, we got Academy, but do not forget about the amateur circuit. This is where players are developing. This is where players are getting the skills that will get them to that next level so that they're drafted by Academy teams and getting into LCS in the future. So make sure to check out twitch.tv/risen_esports for the Tier 2 tournament Risen Champions League semifinals and finals this Saturday and Sunday. They're beginning at 5 p.m. PST. So go check it out. There's a pre-show as well. So if you want to check out a lot of the new caster talent, there's some great people out there that are putting on some amazing content. And it's awesome to show support for everybody in the community. So don't forget to go check that out. That's been us here for the LCS Academy broadcast. Week number 1 in the books. We'll see you back same place, same time next week for more Academy action.
Good night.